So as is tradition, it seems like the Western Conference is going to be stacked next year. You know, you got Oklahoma City, you got Denver, Dallas, Minnesota, a whole bunch of teams behind them. But one team that seems like they're going to be a little hard to predict going into this year is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's so tough to tell. I mean, they were so good a couple of years ago, then the whole Ja situation, he gets injured, but now you got Ja coming back, and they got the big man, Zachy.
Before we start talking about the Grizzlies, if you haven't already, make sure to leave this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. So like we said, only 2 years ago, it really looked like the Memphis Grizzlies were going to be around for a while. I mean, they got back to the playoffs in 2021, first time since 2017. Remember, they went into Golden State and upset the Warriors in that play-in game. Faced the top-seeded Utah Jazz and actually won Game 1 on the road before losing the next 4. I mean, obviously, you'd like to do better, but you're playing the #1 seed. It's Ja's second season. Definitely not a bad start.
Yeah, not bad at all. I remember I was on my break at the Cheesecake Factory, like, come on, Grizzlies, like, beat this Warriors team, and they did. And then, like, you take Game 1 off Utah. Utah might have been on fraud watch. A lot of people, myself included, race included, did not like that Utah team, but they still pulled it off.
Well, they were going to get that call in the second round.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, 2022, they quickly took that leap, and it was a pretty open Western Conference. Like, they had that tough series with Minnesota where they could have lost that series, to be honest. Minnesota choked some of those games. We just talked about it in the Minnesota video, but also that Warriors series, like if they win Game 1, Clay doesn't hit that shot, Steph doesn't block Ja. That year was so open, and in some ways it was a missed opportunity.
And we got to remember, Ja missed the last 3 games of that series.
That's right.
I mean, I still don't think they would have beat the Warriors, but definitely is more of a question. 23, though, the wheels completely fell off, though. Yes, they got the second seed, but this season was just littered with controversy after controversy. There was the laser pointer incident in February. We were talking off camera before this. You're like, I had completely forgot that one.
That was so ridiculous, and it shouldn't have happened at all. Like, you can't be doing that, but that was so funny.
It sounds like an Onion article.
Yeah, it was.
Then you had the 2 separate gun incidents involving Ja, one of which he got suspended, I think it was like 8 games for. The next one happened after the season. He got 25 games for that one. There was a report that came out that Steven Adams called a players-only meeting where he was calling out the team, but basically calling out Ja and saying, look, you got to show better discipline when we're out on the road. There was Dylan Brooks and all his antics throughout the season, you know, the technicals, the flagrants, shoving a cameraman because, I don't know, someone pissed in his coffee that morning. Why?
This team was just out of pocket. Amazing to watch. It was just like reality show NBA. We always love that. But they were out of pocket, and then once he got to the playoffs, things got even worse because Dylan Brooks is like, you know what? Let me poke the bear. Let me talk shit to the GOAT. And LeBron, he took that personally. Remember Game 6? They lost by 40.
And then not only did Dylan Brooks talk shit and then get lit the fuck up, he skipped out on media availability.
I mean, everyone that wasn't either a Grizzlies fan or a LeBron hater
didn't like this team.
So satisfying to watch that.
And last year, things weren't much better. They let Dylan Brooks walk to the Rockets for basically nothing, and it was an open secret around the NBA that the Grizzlies basically blamed him for all the problems they had.
I mean, remember the report where it said he was not coming back under any circumstances? Dude could have said, I'm playing for free. I'm just trying to get experience on the LinkedIn resume.
Could have had a 7-inch growth spurt. And they're like, no, we don't want you.
Yeah, you're not coming back at all. And they shook things up. They made that trade for Marcus Smart, which I thought was a good move at the time. You bring in one of the best defenders in the league. Like, he's pretty fresh, coming off win Defense Player of the Year, Jaren Jackson Defense Player of the Year on the same team. But the problem is you had the Ja suspension. You start 0-6. I mean, didn't they lose to the Blazers in that one game early on? Like,
that was their 6th loss.
Yeah, panic set in immediately. And by the time you get Ja back, you're 6-19. Like, Western Conference is too good now. You're already done at that point.
Yeah, they won their first 4 games with Ja back in the lineup. Ja hit that game winner in his first game back against the Pelicans to, restore a little bit of hope. Maybe they could push for the play-in game if they had a really strong second half of the season. But of course, after 9 games, Ja tears the labrum in his shoulder, has to have season-ending surgery, so the year is over at that point. They ship out Steven Adams mid-season to the Rockets. They go 27-55. One hilarious fact I found out about this team, though, when I was researching this video, they had 33 different players suit up for their team because they, in addition to Ja like being suspended and getting hurt, like everyone else on this team got hurt too. And also they had 3 different players at some point this season wear the number 18.
That doesn't even make sense.
Why 18?
I don't know, the Peyton Manning number or something, but go on their basketball reference. It is so funny to see. You're just scrolling and players keep coming. I mean, who could forget Bismack Biyombo even suited up for them? They were grabbing everyone.
He was one of the guys who wore 18.
Ridiculous. I mean, on one hand, you finished 2 years ago as the 2nd seed and you still have Ja. I mean, Ja, at one point, we forget it now, he was in top 10 player conversations.
I mean, hell, in that video we made like 2 years ago, he was my pick to be the next face of the league.
Yeah, exactly. You have Desmond Bane, who's very good. You have Jaren Jackson, former defensive player of the year. Like, you got some really good players. And then besides that, you still got Marcus Smart, Gigi Jackson, who was incredible for them, Luke Kennard, one of the best shooters in the league. And then you bring in Zach Edey, who could suck, but he could be very good. That is what I'll say about Zach Edey. He could be ass, but I really want to see that pick and roll, him and Ja. That's going to be exciting.
That is a stunning player analysis from you right there.
I mean, it's true.
He could suck, but he could be really good. Yeah, on the other hand, though, I mean, who knows where this team's mindset is after 2, let's call them turbulent years. And in addition, a lot of the key players from those 22 and 23 teams are now gone. Dylan Brooks, who they thought was the problem, kind of like restored his reputation in his only year in Houston so far. I mean, he's still like an irritant. He still can be kind of a dickhead on the court sometimes, but he's not seen as like a locker room killer. You know, Steven Adams, great locker room guy. He's gone. DeAnthony Melton, Tyus Jones, good role players. They're also gone. I don't know what this team's going to be. And also like looking at the Western Conference now, like you got OKC, Denver, Minnesota, Dallas. Those are probably most people's top 4. And then after that, you know, Sacramento, Houston, New Orleans, the LA teams, Golden State, pretty much everyone in the West except for Utah and the Blazers have a chance to make the playoffs. Even like San Antonio, if Wemby has an insane year, like I could see them sniffing around the play-in game. So you got a volatile team and you got a volatile Western Conference.
I mean, my thing is, can they be as good as the 2022 team? Maybe. Record-wise though, no, because the West is too stacked. Like, I don't know. Some of these teams are going to have injuries. Some of these teams are going to disappoint, but it's tough to say like this Grizzlies team where they've had a couple tough years that they're just going to come back and take their place again. One thing I will say, I am confident that Ja is going to have a good season. For some reason, I just feel like he's going to come in, have a bounce back year. I mean, the couple games he played, he was solid. That game winner gave me a lot of confidence. So I believe in Ja. Do I believe in the rest of the roster? A little bit. I mean, I'm sure they'll be a good team, but the West is too stacked these days. Like, God damn, it's tough to compete out here.
Yeah, if I had to give him a record, I would say like 45 and 37. I think they can get back to where they were. I don't think they can do it in 1 year. I think they need a little bit of time. I mean, Ja, I'd like to believe that he comes back better than ever because watching him, like, he is so much fun to watch. There's a reason why I thought he could be the next face of the NBA because he's a joy to watch, but he's played barely any basketball in the last year. Him more than anyone else on the team has had the rockiest 2 years with everything that's gone on. He's coming off a shoulder surgery. Like, is he going to come back at like that superstar, potentially borderline MVP level? I think there's a chance. I think at least for the next year though, I think what's more likely is that he comes back at like, you know, maybe 24, 23 points per game, like good, but not like a supremely like high level. And then the rest of the roster at this point, I mean, Desmond Bane is really good. Jaren Jackson's really good. Gigi Jackson. But I start looking around at the supporting cast of especially like the top tier teams, like the Oklahoma Cities, Minnesota. Man, like the West is just, it's so difficult. So I say it takes them a year to get back to maybe that top level. And I think they're fighting for the play-in game this year.
Yeah, I think they'll be fighting for the play-in, and 45 wins might even be generous. I think kind of around there. Maybe I'll put them at like 42, 43. I'm sorry, Grizzlies fans. The West is just ridiculous, and like they still haven't given us a ton of confidence. Like just the past years, I know Dylan Brooks is gone, but can you fully trust Ja to stay right? I mean, I think he's learned his lesson, but still, can you fully trust him? Do you trust everyone in that locker room? I like Marcus Smart. I think he'll be very good for them as they're fully healthy, and I think it was nice to get a guy like Gigi Jackson, like these young guys to come in, and you get a good draft pick, so you got Zach Edey, so they got some new faces that'll help, but I think it's going to be tough. I think they're a play-in team, and at best, probably a first-round exit in a late playoff series. It's just tough out there. The Western Conference these days is too fucking good.
That's the video, guys. How good do you think the Grizzlies are going to be this year? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving it a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.